Hi, everyone. I'd like to chat a little bit about Module 2. And we have one real major goal for this module, and that is that we want you to begin to articulate or begin to explain how this technology that you're going to add to this course that you've chosen for the Blended Online Learning Retreat, how that will help your students be more engaged and achieve their learning goals. So to help you do this, we put together a series of readings and resources that allow you to explore different strategies for teaching with technology and different ways of thinking about how you might incorporate technology into your course, particularly online technologies. So right now I want to go over a little bit about the readings and resources that we put together, just one by one, just walk through them and talk a little bit about why we chose them and why you might find them useful. So our first piece is a really short little article. It was in the Chronicle, I think 2019, a while ago, by Michelle Miller. And Michelle Miller is a really thoughtful thinker about teaching with technology. She's a cognitive scientist, a psychologist, and she's thought a lot about the way in which learning operates in online environments. So she has a couple of great books. I think Minds Online is one of my favorite books on online learning. She has a couple others out there, but this piece is much shorter, not a book-like piece, but she has some really sort of nice tips about why you want to choose technology for your teaching. What are the things you should be looking at before you adopt any technology into a course, and why you might do that. And the short answer is just you want it to be achieving some kind of outcome, or you want it to be able to improve the learning environment in some way. But she does a nice way of sort of wrapping that up. So I think you'll find that really useful, super, super short. I think you want to take a look at that one first. And it does a nice job of framing what we're going to be talking about. Our next reading comes out of another a great book. This, again, is one, I think, if I was going to choose one book, in fact, it is the one book that I would recommend if you're going to teach a fully online course that you should read and look at. It's really phenomenal. It's been around for a while. It's on its third edition now. The Online Teaching Survival Guide, you can see it right there. But it's just very practical. It has great tips, but they're really, really sound as well. But I chose just one chapter out of it. This is the longest reading we have, but I chose one chapter out of this book that goes through 10 principles 14 principles, 10 plus 4, I think they call the chapter. But it's a series of principles that you want to incorporate into any online course. And in fact, I chose this because while they frame this as online courses, these principles are actually good for any course that you're teaching. So you can think about it, and they do help frame how you would want to integrate technology into a course and the things you want to be thinking about as you're integrating that technology. So I really like these. I think they're super practical. I think they're super helpful. So take a look at that, read through that. It is about 20 pages, I think. So it's a little bit long, but I think it's well worth it, and it's an easy read. So it shouldn't be too taxing. We then get a lot more specific with our readings, and we share a bunch of readings from Pacific. The first set of resources that we share for Pacific are 4 case studies from faculty who have adopted different educational strategies that are enabled by technology. So here are 4 faculty that we have case studies for. Our first is Sage Davis-Ryson. She's now the director of the PA program down in Hillsborough. She's a wonderful educator. But some years back, she was having, I shouldn't say trouble with a class, but she wasn't getting the outcome she wanted to in a clinical skills class. So she addressed that by flipping the classroom. So this case study talks about the ways in which why she wanted to flip her classroom, and a little bit about the strategy she used. Our next case study is from Katie Bell. This is a case from when she was teaching in the dental hygiene program. Katie also flips her classroom, but in this case talks about a particular concern she had, and that is, how do you know, or how can you be assured that if your students are watching lectures or doing other kinds of activities online, how do you know they've done that, and how do you know they've done that to a level where you can actually use what they've done online in your face-to-face class? So she talks about how she put assessment into her course to really understand where their students were coming from and just making sure they were prepared for their face-to-face classes. Our third person is Phil Reuter, longtime faculty member here at Pacific, is retiring this spring, sadly. But Phil's an economics professor, and he's a national expert on team-based learning. This is sort of a group work strategy, an inquiry-based strategy for teaching. It's used widely in the health professions, also in economics and some other business fields. But this process requires that it's very similar to a flipped model, but it requires a lot of pre-work on the part of the students. So Phil talks a bit about how, or we describe a bit about how Phil has used technology to enable a lot of that pre-work and to do some of that assessment. Phil also needed to be able to react really quickly to problems his students were having. So he'd use a lot of just-in-time videos and other kinds of things. So the pedagogy itself, or the teaching strategy itself, is not necessarily a technology driven model, but the way in which Phil implemented it required that there be a huge technological component. It would not have been successful without that technological component. Our last case study is from Jennifer Hardiker, and she uses a process called a gamification in her courses. And that is she sort of designs her course to be kind of like a video game. Not that her course is a game, but there's concepts like leveling up or achieving, prizes or things like that. So as you go along the course, it has these milestones and touchstones, kind of like the same way you would level up in a video game. So this requires there to be a lot of different sort of grading strategies, micro grading strategies, independent work, ability for students to choose different paths. So it's pretty complicated. And the only way that Jennifer was able to incorporate these kinds of things into her course was to really have a lot of use of Moodle to be able to track and maintain all these assignments. So it's a really interesting case study. I think you'll find it really fascinating. Check out the video interview in that case study in particular, because there Jennifer talks a lot about how she applied Moodle to enable this strategy. Our final two sets of resources come from interviews, surveys, focus groups that we conducted with faculty during the Pivot Online in 2021. So we had this huge experiment at that time. If you were teaching then, you'll remember. Even if you're a student then, you'll remember, where we did, everybody had to teach online or everybody had to teach in hybrid courses. So we really wanted, at SETC, we were very busy, but we really wanted to understand how this experience shaped people's teaching, their conception of teaching, and really what went on or what worked for them. What were the really effective methods? So we did a lot of surveys, interviews, focus groups to really sort of figure this out. And so I want to share with you two web pages that we put up that share some of these results. The first one is a series of survey and some interviews and focus groups we did just after, it's like 21-ish, about what people wanted to keep from this experience as they moved forward. So what were those things, those practices that they developed during the Pivot Online that they wanted to hold on to? So there's some really great tips in here, some really sort of interesting things that folks said, as well as the particular tools that they thought were really valuable as they were in this really technology-enhanced teaching environment. So take a look at that. It's relatively short. You should be able to go through that quickly and glean some stuff. The second one is also pretty short, but it's, again, very interesting. We asked our faculty what was working for them in the midst of everything was going on. These were people that were teaching fully online. And so we really wanted to know what were those specific techniques, methods, strategies that you were using that really helped your students stay engaged and to succeed. And they gave us some great information. So you can go ahead and look through those. And I think you'll find some really interesting things and some nice tips and things that you could put into your own toolkit. So there's a lot of readings here, right? There's a lot of different resources. And we know this is a super busy time of year. So if you just have a little bit of time to read some things, I would suggest reading the first article by Michelle Miller. Super quick, but just gives some real practical advice on why you'd want to choose technologies. Then shift to our Pacific readings. Take a look at the page on Sage Davis Rising, gives a good overview of the flipped model, and it'll give you an idea of what's there, as well as Jen Hardicker's case study on gamification, because that's just a very different way of thinking about how to enable technology in your courses. And that might be generative. And then I would say, take a look at both of those web pages, the final web pages that we have from the pandemic, because they have sort of collect a bunch of different ideas, and you can read through those quickly, but they give a lot of sort of quick different strategies that you can think about adopting, and that might help you think about how you want to use technology in your courses. All right. Well, good luck with your reading. As always, please let me know if you have any questions. You can just shoot me an email, or you can post something into the help forum. Thank you again for all your work this very busy time of year. I really look forward to your forum posts for this module. I think it'll be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the types of strategies that you think you want to adopt for your courses.